From the heat of Woodland Hills, a new season hits, and we are ready here on Between the Horns, presented by your Southern California Toyota dealers. I'm JB Long, and you know my friends and colleagues, Super Bowl champion DeMarco Farr and Maurice Jones-Drew, but let me reintroduce them anyways. DeMarco is in year 16 as a broadcaster.
Yes.
And year 30 representing the Rams.
He loves saying that.
Wow.
He loves saying the
Happy
30 years.
anniversary.
See, thank you very much.
You know what I don't shout out often enough, but I want
What?
to here? You're the host of Rams Iconic, which has become one of my favorite listens.
You're kidding me.
Some really good episodes.
Fun
this
show.
summer.
Yeah, get to meet all those guys. Absolutely. Someday I'll interview you.
Let's hope, my friend. Let's hope. And Maurice Jones-Drew, who once led the NFL in rushing, and get this, has also returned punts in the NFL. Am I right?
Yeah, I did a little bit of both.
We'll get to that. We'll get to that in the context of the 2024 Los Angeles Rams. How are you guys?
Good, man.
This is good stuff, huh?
You mentioned heat. Where? It's cold out here. Could be warmer. Come
Listen,
on.
like I said,
Not so bad.
I was in Florida. This is beautiful. This is a beautiful day in Florida.
Yes.
This is probably like 6:30 in the morning, Florida time.
This is beautiful. Yes.
Yeah.
We do expect to be indoors next week. Our new facility here in Woodland Hills, the studio is almost ready. Can't wait to showcase that and show it to you perhaps as soon as, say, Monday of next week. But for now, we're previewing the Detroit Lions and Week 1. The 2024 season picks up right where the last one ended. And let's talk about the work the Rams have done since. I was driving up this morning thinking, okay, what's a unique way I can frame the work the Rams have put in to fortify their roster? And here's what I'm going to come up with. MJD, I'll start with you. Could this team right now beat the 2023 Los Angeles Rams? The Rams of right now going up against the Rams that lost to the Lions in January. You're nodding.
I think so if they're all healthy. I think that's the biggest thing. Health is the biggest situation with the offensive line. But you have to think. You've added young pieces that can play. You lost a huge piece on defense, but the defense was kind of coming around as of late. But offensively, I think you're better. Healthy Cooper Kupp, bigger offensive line. Another year with Matthew Stafford and Sean McVay. You add Blake Corum. All of a sudden, it looks a little bit different. The tight end room is completely different than what it was and revamped. And so, to me, offensively, you're better. Defensively, you've added some really good pieces. You added Trey White, who was obviously coming off that Achilles. He's back. Darius Williams, who's come back. So that's more fortified. And then the biggest hole is obviously the defensive line, but I can't wait to see what these two young guys do. And, we're in the lunchroom, and I didn't want to bring up Florida State because Jared Verse was there. But the fact that they look like that and we have two of them, it's like, okay, now I get it. And you brought that up. You said it. Like,
Verse and Fisk are that good.
Yeah.
Right.
You're losing to Boston College now.
Yeah.
I see.
Okay. So, to me, I think there's a lot in my mind, there's more promise that you could, like, if they don't do well, it's like, wow, like, really, there's so much more talent on this roster.
I see where you potentially, yes, they could be better, but I got to say, I mean, Aaron's not here.
That's right. Yeah,
and last year's team would beat this year's team because of him. He is that good. I don't want to back off that statement, but I think they have potential to be better. The offense should be better, remarkably better, or as good as it was last year, if you keep everybody healthy. The offensive line is better from guard to guard. Tackle to tackle we'll worry about, and I think that will play itself out. But defensively speaking, that's the biggest question marks. Can these young guys replicate what we saw out of Aaron? I think you can. You can't trade one for one. No. You'll never get a guy to replace Aaron Donald. Won't happen. He is going to Canton. He will be immortal. But what you can get is a by committee approach. You can have a run stuffer. You can have a pass rusher. You can have quick guys. You can have Chris Shula scheme it up to beat certain offenses. So you're young, you're fast, you're aggressive. You don't know what you don't know. But you have a chance to ascend to be a really good defense this year.
I think every position group, save for defensive tackle, off-ball linebacker, I can make the case the 24 Rams are as good or better than they were at the end of last season in January. So let's go there with some latest news. DeMarco and I have talked a little bit about these things, but MJD, I want to get your fresh take as well. The trade of Ernest Jones and what the Rams are rolling with in the middle of their defense. What was your reaction when you heard that news?
My reaction was, we got off the plane from Houston. I'm waiting on my Uber, and I see Ernest Jones out there waiting. He had his card. Then I saw him walking back and forth. It was interesting. Everybody had left. So I was kind of like, man, what's going on? When the news broke, I go, it makes sense, right? He was kind of dealing with his agent. If I respect the Rams. If you're not going to pay him, allow him to go somewhere else and possibly get paid, right? That's a kudos to the Rams. Obviously, you get something back as well. For Ernest, though, that's a big loss, right? That emotional leader, that guy that had everybody going, that energy that he brought is going to be tough to kind of duplicate, right? Like, think about some of the plays that he made, right, in the Super Bowl, rushing on Joe Mixon.
Oh, yeah.
How many sacks he had when he blitzed, right? The guy that brought the energy, was able to call and do all that is tough to duplicate, especially when you're missing Aaron Donald as well on the inside. And so, to me, it's tough, but at the end of the day, we've seen the Rams lose guys, lose coaches, lose a lot of things, and still find a way to make it work. I think Omar Spates is going to be a guy that's going to kind of work his way in as he goes, just because of his athletic ability and his physicality. But right now, I'm excited with Troy Reeder and Roseboom as well. Those guys have flown around and done a great job. Troy Reeder's been a great, I would say, catalyst to being able to call the defense, get guys set, right? That's always important, getting guys set in their eyes right. And so as the other guys pick up and go, I think they'll kind of replace them. But, it's a move that needed to be made. They made it, and I still expect the defense to go out and do well.
So you're willing to judge by the results.
Yes.
To give this coaching staff the benefit of the doubt, and we're going to know those results really soon, because I'm not sure there's an offensive roster in the league that's going to vet you more than the Detroit Lions. DeMarco, the other one that has happened recently is the flip guard and center.
Yeah.
To Rams fans who are like, oh, no, that can't be a good sign.
No.
Is there another spin on this?
No. Well, I mean, it just depends on how you look and how they play. And just like you, as a running back, when you get in the dot and you look and see who that middle linebacker is, depending on who that guy is, changes your demeanor, right?
No question.
Same thing with center guard. If there's a switch coming up, you're getting ready to play me, and then I find out you're going to switch your guard and center, well, that makes me smile. That must be an issue. One of those guys must be hurt, or one of those guys must not be practicing well, so there's got to be some sort of issue. But if you're looking at it from this side, Jonah Jackson, he knows every call. He's a smart guy. Steve Avila played left guard. He's going right back to the spot that he was really good in last season. And he played center in training camp this year. So you're getting really two centers out there. So if you have one guy that's on the mend, so to speak, with the scapula, the one thing the center has as a benefit is he always has help. The guards are on islands, so if the guy is more healthy, then put the healthy guy out there against Detroit's defensive tackles with all that crowd noise. They're going to get a jump on you. And then have the guy that's on the mend have the benefit of help on both sides. So it is a shock, but I don't think it's going to be as much of an issue come Sunday as most people think it is.
When I saw that, I was kind of like raised my eyebrows a little bit, but I understand exactly what you're saying. Like, listen, you got to protect him. Right, he's been banged up all through training camp. We have to protect Jonah Jackson to make sure that we can get him through the season. We paid him a lot of money. We need him on the field getting it going. So if that means we got to move you to center to protect you for a little bit, so be it. This is what happens.
Steve, you go back to guard.
Yeah, you go back to guard, and then we'll flip vice versa as the season goes on.
Can I pitch you on an alternative interpretation or explanation? And I'm not in that room. I don't know. This is me reading tea leaves. But because Joe Noteboom is now playing tackle, who's your next best interior offensive lineman? You got the starting three. Who do you think your next best one is? I think it might be Bo Limmer.
Limmer?
I think
Logan
maybe
Bruss?
they took a look at what they've seen so far and said, Limmer is our fourth. Where does he plug in most easily? At center. So how do we arrange the front line such that if anything were to happen guard to guard, Limmer can come in and play center? Right. I don't know if that's the case or not.
I like that.
I think there's a lot of those that are going to go into that just because – again, you have to make sure when you're carrying 6-7 linemen that you can have swing guys that can do different things. Right?
Yeah.
I remember a couple years ago the Rams were cross-training everybody, but Andrew, left tackle.
Whitworth. Yeah.
Yes, I want to make sure.
That's right.
Yeah, everyone else played every position,
right.
but except for him. So
Yeah.
just cross-training those guys to make sure they're prepared has always been something the Rams have done. This is just something that came up.
Remember that thing I said about the heat? Forget that. It's getting hot.
You're changing
okay, let's
your
go.
tune on
Yeah,
that.
yeah.
Before I forget Whitworth, okay? There's an opportunity here for Joe Noteboom, who I also just mentioned.
Mm-hmm.
Remember, after the Super Bowl, Whitworth hangs it up as Walter Payton Man of the Year, and they say, boom, we're going to sign you to give you the chance to be that guy. For a variety of reasons, that's not how it played out. But now with this 2-game suspension for Alaric Jackson, what if Joe Noteboom performs so well, he never gives that thing back?
That's what you want.
Absolutely. Hey, look, you don't have to give the job back.
No.
That's not how this works, especially if it's self-inflicted and you're suspended and I play well and we got a flow going. So there's no guarantee. How do you think Alaric Jackson got the job in the first place?
Right.
There was an opening and didn't give it back.
It's funny because the defensive coordinator for the Detroit Lions was with me in Jacksonville, Aaron Glenn. He used to always tell us opportunities aren't earned, they're given.
Yeah, you dang right.
Then you take advantage of them, and that's how you go.
Yes.
All right, Mr. Running Back, punt returner, fantasy football legend.
Yes.
Ease our conscience here. Make us feel better.
To me, it's so funny how, like, I was getting texts from all different type of Rams fans when this came
blew
out.
up.
Oh, it was crazy. Like, punt returner, are you kidding me? I was like, Dude,
What's the
I
problem?
returned kicks, punts, and played every snap at running back in multiple games.
That's how it
What do you
used
mean?
to be.
Wait,
That's
hold
what
on.
you
Every
gotta
snap
do.
at running back?
Yes.
Every snap at running back in 2009 or 2009, I played the first game against the Indianapolis Colts. Didn't come off
You
the
got
field like
numbers?
an offensive line,
You got numbers there?
right? I'm just telling you.
I was prepared for this.
Yeah, I'm telling you. That game, when we played on the Thursday night game against the Colts, that's when I had to go back and return kicks and
Yes.
punts and play offense. Look, we're just trying to find ways, especially when you have another back like
Yeah.
Blake Corum who can come in and
Yes.
spell you, who's going to do kickoff returns, right? There's no difference in this situation because it's set up the same. It gives you a chance to have an explosive player out there that can make things happen. Remember a couple years ago when Cooper Kupp was doing it? We're like,
Yes.
are you kidding? Put him back there because a big play can happen. It's an offensive play.
And he can fair catch.
Yeah.
Hey, you don't have to get hit. Yeah.
I'm going to play devil's advocate here. Let me say this in all humility. One, I appreciate that perspective because I think that's what everyone needs to hear. You're authoritative in that manner. Secondly, I'm never going to be a football coach, never have been, never will be, and I'm certainly not a Super Bowl winning coach. So I will defer to their judgment. They're only doing things that are good for Kyron and the Los Angeles Rams. I believe that in my heart of hearts. But,
Uh-oh.
are you not more Blake Corum in this comparison than you are Kyron Williams? Because Fred was still there, right? When you were a punt returner.
No, I wasn't. Fred was there in 2007.
Fred's last year was 08.
Yeah, 2007, 2008.
From that day forward, you returned 4 punts.
You know you're in
Yeah.
trouble when he
They-
looks
they-
at
they
the
Hold
nose.
on.
pulled me out of that.
Hold
You're
on.
right.
Yeah,
You're right.
You're in trouble when he looks at the
Your
nose.
first 1,000-yard rushing season was 2009,
Yeah.
correct? From that day forward, you returned 2 punts.
Yeah, they didn't put me back there after that. I'm not going to lie to you. We didn't have Blake Corum back there. I'm just being honest. We didn't have Blake Corum back
Right.
there. But if in emergency, I had to go back there, right? So I
Yeah.
practiced it all the time just in case. And to me, this is the thing. When you feel like you have 2 to 3 guys that can go, Ronnie Rivers is another guy they feel comfortable
go.
with that can put in there. When you have those guys, you want to try to be as explosive as possible. I tell kids this.
Also, you were that dude. You
Oh, I
had that track
appreciate you.
speed, so it made sense in that way.
He's
I don't
okay.
want to say
I
you
tried
were.
it.
He's all right.
It's funny
Yeah.
because I
Come
tell
on.
people this all the time. Like in high school, I coach punt returns. I always have to just catch the ball because normally in high school they don't put the best guys out there, right?
Yeah.
And so when you can have your best player or one of your better players returning punts in space,
Yes.
you got a chance of a big play. And again, it's all about field position, and I can give you a break because I have a guy. So when Fred was there, I was able to do more. When Fred left, they didn't bring a guy in behind me because, to be quite frank, I didn't want them.
You didn't want that guy. See?
So.
You got it. But that's how they
You're
used
chewing
to
up
do
too
it.
much of the salary cap.
Your shiftiest guy was your returner, and sometimes that is your running back. I think in league history, some of the best punt returners have been running backs, and it's
Yeah.
just a way to start your possession.
Okay, and
Yeah.
the last thing, Tyreek Hill, when he was with the Chiefs, when he first started returning punts, he played running back.
Yeah.
He was a running back his first year or two, and then they moved him to wide receiver. So you just want to put a guy back there that's great in space.
We're going to get to the breakdown with the Lions in week 1 in just a second, but some big picture 2024 thoughts first, okay? Let's play a game of fill in the blank. I'll start with this. I think the 2024 Los Angeles Rams are fill in that blank for me.
Super Bowl contenders.
Oh, I was about to say that.
Gotcha. See,
Yes.
Super Bowl contender. Absolutely. Look, it's nice waking up in the morning knowing you have an elite quarterback under center, right? I could care less what age he is. When you have one of those guys, Sundays are a lot easier. And then when you think of what they've done on the offensive line and the running backs we just talked about. Oh, and Puka Nacua setting records, and Cooper Kupp is back, and your tight end room is different. So you have a chance to be one of the more explosive offenses in the league. And on defense, I would rather be young and fast than old and slow, wouldn't you?
Oh, no question.
Absolutely. So you have a chance to ascend there. And I think you might have fixed your kicking game at some point. So why wouldn't I consider the Rams as Super Bowl contenders?
I would say this. It's easy in the morning to wake up when you have expectation. This morning, I woke up. I went to bed at 2 o'clock. I drove in from the Bay Area last night, got in at 2 a.m. It's a lot of expectation. Hey, it's 6 o'clock. My alarm went off at 6:30. I'm excited. Let's get here, right? And that type of mindset and energy, like you said, you have a quarterback, you have running back, you have offensive lineman. You've made all these moves. You drafted well. You've done all these things, and it's like we're excited to finally get it to put it together. And that's why they're Super Bowl contenders, because every day you can wake up knowing that you have a chance. There's certain teams in the NFL right now, I'm not going to say any names, that don't really have a chance.
Yeah.
Right.
They
You
have
wake
Joe
up, you're
Bag of
like,
Donuts at
you're like,
quarterback.
you're like,
Yeah.
I just don't, like
Right.
we're rebuilding, and
Yeah.
those are the hard days. Those are the dog days of your career when those things happen. So when you have a quarterback, when you have pieces around receivers and running backs, you have edge rushers, and you have DBs that can catch the ball,
And a great coach.
you have a great coach and a
Yes.
scheme and all this. You get excited to come in here and figure out what the scheme is
Yes.
weekend. How are we going to attack these guys? How are we going to stop this guy? If I'm a defensive player right now, I'm ecstatic. If I'm Jared Verse, I'm ecstatic. You know why? Because I know Detroit wants to run the football, and that's what I do well. So bring it on. And then those are the things that I think. That's why I would say the Rams are Super Bowl contenders because, again, there's expectation to be that.
If they are, I think it's because of my answer to this question, and that's toughness. I think aspirationally, the thing they set out to do is to be the toughest version of the Rams of the Sean McVay era, which is saying a lot, especially when you're losing the ultimate enforcer in 80-99. But I think both lines of scrimmage, a lot of the position groups, you can say the Rams are bigger, stronger, nastier, and that travels.
Oh,
that
definitely on the O-line.
That gets them to where they want to go.
Guard to guard, you're about as nasty as you can get.
And I still think both of those tackles, when they're healthy and they're available, they're big and
they're
mean
part of that,
too.
sure,
Yeah,
He's meaner Rob is meaner than you think. Yeah.
Okay, besides staying healthy, the key to the Rams season this year could be what?
Stopping the run. Simple as that.
Did he jump you? I know that's
no.
on your
Go
mind
ahead.
too.
No. You got to stop the run. I think last year, if you go back to Detroit and how they started that game, and it took the Rams till the second half to kind of figure out their running game. Stopping the run is going to be the most important thing. Something they struggled with last year. If they could stop the run defensively, you force teams into being one-dimensional, especially like we talked about with some young quarterbacks that you're playing early, some inexperienced quarterbacks that you're playing early. If you can find a way to possibly get that defense going, stopping the run, letting those guys pin their ears back, that'll help you out a ton.
So Bobby Brown, come on down.
Yes.
Jared Verse, come on down. Michael Hoyt, come
Everybody.
on down.
Braden Fisk, all of them, Kobe Turner.
Your answer to that question?
Is this league-wide or just this weekend?
Just season long. The key to the Rams season, other than staying healthy, is what for you?
Keeping Matthew Stafford healthy.
Okay.
That's it. That's your thing. If you lose him, all is lost. Yeah.
For this season to be considered a success, the Rams must do what?
Score. Yeah. Score a lot. Because your defense is going to have to learn a little bit as it goes. They don't know what they don't know, and they're coming together. Chris Shula is a first-time coordinator, so there's going to be a lot of growing pains there. But I think I said this way back in April and March. I think this offense right now can score on anybody. Yeah, I really do.
Could they be the most complete offense of the McVay era? They took the league by storm in 17. 18, they were top-notch. 21, they brought Stafford in. He threw for 41 touchdowns, and Cup won the Triple Crown.
Can I say that? I mean,
that's tough. 2018, I mean, that's the, we go back, that's the golden year.
I think they're as complete, though.
Without consulting Tyler Higbee, yes, I think they might be.
I think they can beat you in as many or more ways than
well,
even that
I
year.
think they switched their scheme up. You talked about toughness, and that changes a lot of what they want to be. For them to be successful this year, I think you have to go further than what you did last year.
That's me too. Win a playoff game.
Win a playoff game. Because, again, once you get that first one under your belt, it's very similar to what happened when they won the Super Bowl in 2021. You just got out of the first round. That's all you got to do is get out of the first round, right? You got that one out the way. You beat the Cardinals. And then it was like, all right, here we go. We're on the road to Tampa. We'll figure we play well against Tampa. We know how to beat them. We know how to play them. Good. Then we got the Niners at home, and it was like, oh, we got a little momentum. Right? We got little things going on. And so it's just getting out of that first round or that first playoff game.
Can you see this?
No,
we got a ladder working now.
Can you see this right here? No, I mean me pulling your jersey.
Yeah.
If they would have saw that in Detroit, you would have won that game last year.
No question.
In January.
I thought you were talking about the sweat.
I thought he was calling out the sweat.
Oh, this too, yeah.
I was like, I got you coming back to Marco.
I am dripping.
Show the audience the good stuff right here, too.
I am dripping, though. Yes,
Last
sir.
fill in the blank, then we'll get to the Lions. The Rams' most important rookie or newcomer, if you don't want to limit it to the rookie class, will be who? The most important newcomer for this year's team.
On the count of three. 1, 2, 3.
Kicker.
Braden Fisk.
Kicker?
The kicker, for
all right.
sure.
Joshua Carty for MJD. How about you?
Braden Fisk.
Yeah,
I think he's going to be that guy. I mean,
you're putting so much pressure on him, though. He has to fill in that AD role. I don't want to do that.
He don't feel pressure.
No, he don't.
He's special. He's different. I told you this before. You lost a Jedi, but there is another coming.
Can I reframe something for you?
Yeah.
Because remember going back to the draft and everyone was like, ooh, they overpaid for Braden Fisk.
Really?
Like that was a huge – they basically gave up a future second-round pick to get a second-round pick, right?
That's going to be a steal, yeah.
That's kind of how I feel, too, is if you know how the Rams think about Braden Fisk and if you've seen the impact he's had in this offseason program, I think they're conceptualizing it as, hey, a second-round pick next year is a small price to pay to get another first-round talent right now when we need it.
And he's going to play 50, 60% of the snaps. He's going to be resting, and when he gets on the field, he's going to be the Energizer Bunny.
I'm with you. The only one that I would put in that same category is Jonah.
Yes.
In terms of like the multiplying factor.
I mean, I want to see how he plays at center. But when he goes back to guard and the offensive line goes to what we think it should be, either Boom or Lark Jackson and Rob Havenstein, when they're all together, I think this line has a chance to be what Detroit is right now. Very multiple. Mash you on 1st and 10, and on 3rd and long, protect the quarterback.
Yeah. I would say this. Last year, so many games came down to a field goal or missed extra point that put us into a situation that just the kicking game being smooth again. right? That's going to be the most important thing. You talk about putting up points.
Mm-hmm.
7, that one puts more pressure on teams than you think.
Sure. Rams left more points on the field in the kicking game than any team in the National Football League last year. And by the way, they lost that game in Detroit by 1. That was a red zone issue, but we can get to that. All right.
Pull the jersey. See?
Yeah,
Flag.
yeah,
I'm
flag.
sorry.
To week 1. Ready for the Lions?
Yes.
Let's resist the urge to just go right to the quarterback matchup. Let's
Yeah.
save that for the end,
Okay.
Speaking of Super Bowl or bust expectations, how about what Amon-Ra St. Brown and Brad Holmes and everyone in Detroit, they're saying that's where their sights are set and no lower.
As they should be. You went to the NFC Championship game. You had it won.
Had it won.
If you would have just went back to who you were, who Dan Campbell is, running the football, biting a kneecap. You all of a sudden you come out in 7-on-7 where you're throwing the ball every other play. You're up by 21. Just run the clock. Go into
Right.
4-minute mode, right? You win that game. You go to the Super Bowl. You never know. You already beat the Chiefs week 1. You had a chance probably to win a Super Bowl there. To me, again, expectation. It's just certain things happen with expectation. I think the Detroit Lions are set up to be successful. But they got to get back to who they are and who they want to be, who they wanted to be when they first got there, when they wanted to change the culture. A ground and pound team. When you can do ground and pound and you can play action pass, they become one of the most dangerous
You force
team.
Jared to the front.
Yeah. It's all of a sudden it's like, how do we stop this, right? And so to me, again, going to the Rams, this is going to be a tough test early on. How physical do you want to be, right? It comes down to stopping the run is a want to and physicality. That's all it is. We already know where they want to run. They want to run the A gaps and the B gaps. They rarely run outside. They do a little toss here. They may do a reverse to Jamison Williams, but at the end of the day, they want to run between the A gaps and B gaps. If you're in those A gaps and B gaps, how physical are you willing to be to make sure they don't do that?
They're putting a lot on Williams. They need him to be a legit wide receiver, too,
Yes.
for them to get to where they're trying to go. Because when you're talking about we still don't know who Josh Reynolds' replacement is, that's probably the only deficiency, if there is one, on their offense.
Right.
On defense, where they lacked last year was in coverage. I mean, they had guys running past them in December and January. And what they do? Brought in 2 vets, drafted 2 top picks. They feel like they fixed the back end of that secondary.
Did you see the Giants-Detroit highlight when they were practicing against each other?
No.
Yeah, the Neighbors was running past everybody.
You're
So
saying
I-
not
he's
fixed?
good.
I don't know if it's fixed
Yeah,
per se. I
he's really
think
good.
I think they've thrown pieces at it to try to fix it. It may be better than what it was. I just don't know if they're going to be able to lock up and play man like they did in the second half of that game and just try to.
And second half of that season, they got back to Glenn's identity, I
Yes.
think, which is like, hey, we're coming after you and we're playing man behind
Yes.
it. So they at least have in Arnold and Rakestraw and Carlton Davis and Amik Robinson, they have more options to play that way.
No question. You got to think those guys are all man guys.
Yeah.
Right. Carlton Davis is coming from Todd Bowles' Tampa Bay Buccaneers, where it's strictly man to man, and we've played him.
Yeah.
Yes.
Right. We've gone against him, and then
He's a
Arnold.
champion, though.
Yeah, he
Yeah.
is. And Arnold coming out of Alabama.
Good player.
Basketball player, has that ability to slide and move. But he's a man-to-man guy. He's not a zone guy. He wants to be manned up, pressed, and he wants to run with you. So I think that bodes well, though, for what the Rams want to do offensively if you're going to try to play man and stop the run. That's going to give Cooper Kupp those options, Puka Nacua on the move, things like that. So we'll see how it goes.
Take me somewhere else in this matchup. What else is on your mind?
Well, you mentioned the A-gap, and the first guy that came to mind was Bobby Brown III.
Yeah.
And I love it. I love his new personality. He's been more personable. He's talking to the media a little bit more, but now I need you to be nasty. And you're exactly right, man. When you're trying to run the football, it's not about X's and O's. It's about want to. Sometimes it's a fight, man.
Yeah.
And watching Detroit's offensive line on video, I get that same queasy feeling I used to get as a player when I watched Dallas getting ready for that game, or getting ready for Minnesota back in the day when they had Hall of Famers and All Pros, or Denver's offensive line when they were just cutting guys down like trees. So sometimes it's not about X's and O's. It's about let me just refuse to move. So Bobby Brown's got to plant that foot in the A-gap and say, I'm not going anywhere. Dexter Lawrence style,
Yes.
where your stance is wider than your shoulders, and you look like you're almost 400 pounds. You've got to be that guy, especially this week when you don't have Ernest Jones to run through blocks to get to ball carriers. You're going to have to keep those linebackers clean so they can make plays. So if the Rams are going to win on Sunday, then Bobby Brown might be the player of the game. He has to be.
Quick question.
player of the
Who's
game.
going to be the 5 technique? Who's playing the 5?
They can slide Kobe out there. They can slide Braden Fisk to a 5.
Yes.
That inside 4, outside
That,
5. Yeah.
That to me, going back and watching the wild card round against Detroit, that 5 technique was Jonah Williams.
Yeah.
Was getting beat.
Yeah.
Right, and that is going to be very important. Remember when Michael Brockers used to be the 5?
Yeah.
They were stopping the run because the nose was doing its job, and then it was the 5 that has to do the other part. You got to be able to
yeah.
collapse all that down and make them bounce.
So 5 is head up on the tackle, right?
Yeah,
so
it's outside edge of the tackle.
So
between
I got a
tight end.
defensive coordinator say, I want you to play in a 5, and I'm looking at that 5, and it's Penei Sewell. So you want me to do what, Coach?
Yeah. That's what I'm saying.
You want me to stand head up with this dude? Okay, yeah.
But that's what it's going to take. Again,
Someone's
you
gotta
talked
do that
about
job.
Right.
someone has to be. You gotta grow up fast.
You
right?
gotta fight.
You get baptized by fire in this league, and that is going to be the most important position. The 1, yes, for sure. But that 5, if that 5 can hold up, I'm telling you, they'll be able to stop the run. I've run against 3-4 defenses. We always attack the 5 because normally that guy, unless you're playing the Pittsburgh Steelers, is like 280 pounds, so you can get after him. But against the Pittsburgh Steelers, they were like all 300, so it's tougher for a tackle to do it.
For all we've talked about the Rams off-ball linebackers, and they're putting a lot of faith in Roseboom and Reader. I get it. And a lot of people see them as coverage deficient. When I look at the Lions, I think they've got 2 great middle linebackers in Anzalone and Campbell, right? Like,
Yeah,
I respect what they have there. If there's a graded deficiency in their game, though, I think it's coverage.
no question.
And if I know the Rams head coach and Rams quarterback, if they've got a superpower, I think it's exploiting linebackers.
Definitely finding ways to get guys and get Cooper Kupp or Puka open. Sean McVay has made a living off that. And I think Detroit's deficiency in the secondary, covering people up, is overshadowed by their pass rush with Aiden Hutchinson
Yes.
coming the other way.
Yes.
And they got Marcus Davenport
Yes.
now, a guy, I've always said this, hell when he's well, but he's been sick a lot. Well, he's healthy now. And when he's out there, all he does is make plays. So if you're getting great pressure on the quarterback, you could have us back there, and you can still pick off passes and have a great pass defense. So, and you're going to be up there with crowd noise.
Yeah.
Yeah, so the Rams did a great job last season in January handling that crowd noise. Not a single false start. And Hutchinson had 2 sacks, but remember those sacks. One, Stafford fell, and the other one was like a kind of a scramble. So they did a great job handling him. Bring that same sort of mentality, stop that pass rush. You'll make plays against that secondary.
Great pre-snap discipline by you guys, too. We're in mid-season form
Yeah.
here. No one false started on the quarterback conversation. We can go to the trade now. And I think they'll match up again. I think Stafford and Goff will play again, maybe as soon as this postseason. But I think this is the last time we truly have to sell it as the trade, right?
Yeah.
Rams got what they want. They got Stafford in some prime years, a Super Bowl, and many more after that. The Lions got Goff, and he's proven to be a franchise quarterback, and they got the draft capital to build one of the best rosters in the National Football League. Win-win, fine. As they rematch here at the outset of 2024, what's your new context on Stafford v. Goff?
Still thinking about it?
No,
Yeah.
to me, I think the win-win, like the trade is over to me. It's been over, right?
Yeah.
It was over because the Rams won. It was over because
He's
the
there, he's
Lions
here.
went to
Yeah.
the NFC Championship game. That was the end of it at that point. Now this is more of a revenge game, right? It's more of a rivalry game now in the fact of we went to Detroit last year. Eminem was like, "Hey, Stafford," all the stuff that went into it, right? So
Yeah.
now it's my turn to be the villain. Right? It's our turn as the Rams to go into Detroit and hand them a loss week 1 and make them feel how we felt, right? Like I had a coach once tell us, pain is free, right? You could give that to other people. That people can take
Pain
that
is
pain
free.
with them, right? So
I like that.
if you go to week 1 and you go out there and you outduel him at home, and then they get to booing them and all that stuff, then we've done our job, right? But a win-win situation to me is it's neither there nor there. And then to be quite honest with you, it's never Goff versus Stafford. It's really Stafford versus that defense and how can Chris Shula and this defense rattle Jared Goff, right? Getting to Jared. We know Jared. Pressure up the middle rattles him. He has to slide outside. He doesn't like to move his feet. He likes to be planted in the pocket like a statue and throw the football. How do you get him off of his spot? If you can do that,
Well, that's
then
why
you have
there's
a
no
chance.
passing situation, stopping
Yeah.
the run, making him uncomfortable is the key to
Yeah.
it all, like you said.
I think it is Stafford versus Goff. Who's more accurate? Who can keep his team in the game? Who can will his team to victory? That sort of stuff. And I would say you're done with the tennis etiquette. We're not jumping the net. We're not shaking hands. We're not friends right now. I'm out here to beat you. Because remember how they treated Stafford going into that game. And how they treated Jared. It was all that stuff. So this is now turned personal in my eyes. But I think it does come down to which quarterback is going to be more accurate than the other. And the thing is, if it gets into a game to where it is a quarterback duel, then I'm taking our guy.
No
I think
question.
that's it. That's the crux of the
Yeah.
matter is seldom do both sides feel like we wouldn't unwind that trade. We wouldn't give
Yeah.
it back. The Rams feel very much like our guy's better than your guy, and the Lions do too, and that's what's awesome about
And let
it.
me say this, the last thing before we go. Dan Campbell.
You can give me a key to the gate too. Don't rush
Yeah,
out of here.
Dan Campbell said something at the very end of that game like, this is our guy, right? This is who we wanted.
Yeah.
Now you've made it personal, right? It didn't have to be. You didn't have to say all that. You didn't have to do all that after the game. You won. Enjoy it.
Yeah.
But when you start to make things personal, I think that's when you start to get that. It doesn't mean like it's an extra energy or anything, but it's just you're like, okay, I'm a competitor.
Yeah.
Is that how you feel? Let me show you. Let me prove to you and my guys that no, like I'm the right guy.
I love my wife, but her
Yeah.
ex-husband's in the room.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Right. That's not good. Yeah.
Our cameras are overheating. Our crew is falling down from dehydration.
Is that what's happening?
But DeMarco, I know you got one last key to the game before we go.
Okay, so handling that offensive line, that Detroit offensive line is one. We talked about stuff in the run, but somebody else is going to have to step up and be the closer.
Yeah.
That's the one thing you're going to miss with Aaron Donald. That is why he's going to Canton. That's what makes him special. Not just doing the defensive tackle stuff, making plays versus the run, getting in on the quarterback, getting sacks. He closed out games. He closed out the Super Bowl.
Yeah.
That is what you need to develop. Jared Verse is going to be a good player. Braden Fisk is going to be a good player. Byron Young is coming into his own. Kobe Turner too. What you need to develop is that closer's mentality. So we'll see which one of those guys on defense is going to step up and become that closer for this football team.
For me, the key to the game is going to be red zone. It's that simple. Defensively, can you hold them to field goals in the red zone? Offensively, can you score touchdowns?
Last year, the Lions scored 3 straight touchdown drives on eventually short fields, like tight red area touchdowns.
Yep.
To grab the lead, they never gave it back. The Rams, if I'm not mistaken, settled for 3 red zone field goals, lose by 1. That's the difference right there. I'm with you. All right, to the ice bath. Reach
Nice.
you there?
I'll meet you there.
Yeah, cool
MJD,
zone.
DeMarco Farr, JB Long. We're going back to Detroit. We will not, hopefully, end up on the tarmac pulling an all-nighter.
Oh, dude, I don't.
in the
Did we
depth
do
of
we
the
do that?
Detroit winter.
Did we do that?
Yeah, we did that.
Okay, I don't
Yeah.
remember.
Do you
I
remember
was
that
asleep.
time where he slept for 12 hours straight, woke
Right
up in
next
broad
to me.
daylight and sunny?
I was like, what is going on? Why is it
That
sunny
will
outside?
never happen again. That will never wake up, Maurice.
This
Yes.
is not true, but I keep repeating the story. DeMarco's heard it already. Aaron Donald was coming back in 24. He was. I'm good. Let's do it one more time. And then you spend 5 hours overnight on the tarmac in Detroit, frozen, can't refuel. He's like, you know what?
private jets from here on out.
The rest is yours. It's so great to be back with
Yes.
you. 20-plus weeks of uninterrupted football now.
Can't
This
wait.
is where we all want to be. And next week in an air-conditioned studio. For MJD, DeMarco Farr, I'm JB Long. This is Between the Horns, presented by your Southern California Toyota dealer.